Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this Design Space tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can turn your favourite photographs of your family, your pets or anything you like into a pyramage topper to use on handmade cards. We're going to be taking our photos, uploading them into Design Space and then cropping them into different size squares which are built up with foam pads to make a 3D stacked appearance. This is a lovely, quick and easy way to make beautiful, handmade, personalised greetings cards. Let's get started! In this video, I'll show you how to design your own pyramid-style toppers using Cricut Design Space. I'm going to be using a photograph of my dog to make a custom greetings card, but you can use any type of image you want, including clip art graphics, watercolour graphics, photographs, pattern paper, anything you feel like putting onto your pyramid topper will work beautifully. To start, you need to get your image into Design Space. So go into Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find a file on your computer or drag and drop it in. I'll drag in my photo, and then you want to choose Complex as the option here, and then press Continue. We don't need to change anything on this screen, so just press Apply and Continue, and then choose Print then Cut Image, and press Upload. When the image is uploaded, it will appear in your recent uploads, so you can click on it to get the green border around the edge, and then press Add to Canvas. If your image or photo is quite large, this might take a few seconds. Here we go. And this has loaded in pretty big, so I'm just going to resize it a fair bit smaller so it's easier to work with. Next, let's make the template for our pyramid topper. I'm doing a square one for this video, but you can use other shapes as well, such as rectangles, ovals or circles. You need to be a little bit careful using other shapes such as hearts and stars, and I'll show you why. If I go and choose a heart, what we're going to do is cut out one big heart of the photo and then smaller hearts on top to make the layers. However, if I just copy and paste that, and make one smaller. The problem with shapes like hearts and stars that aren't the same all the way around is that once you start making the different layers, and don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do this properly in a minute. This is just a little side point to show you. If you're doing things like this, when you start resizing them, you end up with more gap around here than you do kind of at the top and the bottom. It just doesn't quite resize in proportion. This particular heart's actually doing a pretty good job at resizing. But if that doesn't bother you, that's absolutely fine. You can definitely do a heart. But I like having the same evenly spaced gap around all of my layers, which is why I tend to stick to ovals, circles, squares, and rectangles. All right, so let's get a square. And then it doesn't really matter what size you make this because we can resize it later. So I'm going to go for 5 inches. Now I need to copy and make a duplicate of this one, which you can either do by pressing the duplicate button up here, or you can press Ctrl and C on your keyboard to copy and then Ctrl and V to paste. So I'll do that. And then we'll change the colour so it's easier to see. And then you need to take the same measurement off of each side. Because mine's square, it's easy. I can just change one and they'll all change in proportion. I think I'll do 1/2 inch off each side and see how that looks. So this one's now 4.5 by 4.5. And that's quite a good amount of border. I'm happy with that. I might go a little bit smaller. Maybe let's try 4.25. The smaller you make it, the more of the photo you'll be able to see. So that's looking good. So I took 3/4 inch off in total. Let's duplicate that again, make it another colour, and then take 3/4 inch off each side again. So this one will become 3.5. And I'll line it all up properly in a moment. For now, I'm just making my squares. And then this one, I need to take 3/4 inch off as well. So this becomes 2.75. And then do I want another one? I think this is probably going to be enough, but you can keep going as small as you want to. All right, let's select all of those by dragging a box around them and go align and then center. So now I know they're perfectly one on top of the other. I'm going to click my very biggest square and duplicate that so I've got a copy. And we'll use this one to cut the photo into the right size. So let's go and change it in the operations menu to a guide. That way it turns into just an outline. It's a little hard to see on my particular picture, but now you can just about see that pink line, which means I can put my photograph to wherever I want it to appear, and then select both of those and press slice. That will cut that guide square out of the photograph. Now I can delete my guide, and then I've got my photo cut into the perfect square and my excess, which I don't need, so we can delete that one. And now we can start cutting the photo into all of the different levels of the pyramid topper. I'll need 4 of my picture in total because there's 4 layers in my pyramid. So let's just select that lots of times. Then I can press select all to select the photos and my layers and go align, center. And now everything is one on top of the other. All right, so there's my very bottom square. I can delete that one, my grey one, because I've already got my photo cut into that perfect size. So I rename that layer 1 and I'll put it to the bottom and then hide it. And then I'm going to add my pictures in the layers panel so that there's one underneath each of my squares, and then hide them by clicking the eye that appears when you hover over the layers panel until I've just got my next 2, so my full photo and my yellow square. Let's drag a box around those and slice. And then I don't need the yellow square anymore, so I can delete that one. And then I've got my main dog and also the outline. For now, I'm going to move the outline down the bottom because I'll show you a different way you can use this at the end. And then my photo of my dog will become layer 2, and I'll drag that down above layer 1 and then hide it. Turn on the next one, do the same thing, select both of those and slice, delete the orange, and then the outer bit, I'm just going to move down there for now. The bit I want to keep, we'll rename layer 3, drag it down above layer 2, and then hide it. And I've got one left to do, so I'll slice those layers, delete the blue, and drag my outside down the bottom. Rename the bit I want to keep layer 4, and I'll just put that down there. Now I can turn all the pieces on, and it will just look like you haven't actually done anything if you just look at all the layers because they're one on top of the other. However, when you pull them apart, just by clicking and dragging, you can see we've now got the 4 layers of the pyramid. I'm going to undo that a little bit because I want them back one on top of the other, because we still need to resize this to fit the card. So select all of those and group them together at the top. And that just means when we resize it, it will all change in proportion. I just wanted to show you these bits that we had left over around the edges. You can use these to make a different type of topper called a tunnel topper. It kind of works in the same way, but you'll also need one of the very bottom. So this kind of has the opposite effect. Instead of the layers coming out at you like a pyramid getting smaller, this time it'll be more like you're looking down a tunnel. So you'd have this one of the full photo at the bottom, and then you would stack on this one on top of that, which has the smallest gap in it. Then you do the next smallest gap, and then your very top layer would be the thinnest one. So this way you're building up your outline a bit like a shadow box, and you'd be looking down the layers going inwards instead of coming outwards like our pyramid. That's just a great way to get another card out of all of the excess bits of the photo that we've cut apart. But I'm not going to do that for this one, so let's just delete those, and I've got my pyramid topper here. Next, let's make a card for the pyramid topper to go on. Under shapes, go into square. I'm going to make a square card. I'm actually going to use a pre-made card blank for mine because I've got some that I bought in a craft store which have got pretty edges on, so I'm going to use that. But I'll show you how to make a card blank in case you don't have any pre-made ones. For now, let's hide our pyramid topper. And then my card is 5.75 inches square, so I want my height to be 5.75. And then my width to be double that, which would be 11.5. Make it white. And then add a score line if you've got a scoring tool or stylus down the middle to make it easier to fold. Go into shapes, choose a score line. Set it to the same height as your cards. Mine's 5.75 inches. And then select them both and go align, center, and then press attach. Attach is what tells the Cricut to do the score line down the middle of this piece of card. And then we can get our pyramid topper and go arrange, bring to front, and then work out how big it should be on the card. I'm thinking maybe around 3.5 inches and just have it in the middle because I want to put a pretty background paper around the side. I like to add a little pop of colour behind the toppers. So this one would look nice in a red to match the red on my dog's harness and the ball. And let's go a little bit bigger, so maybe 3.75. And just position that. Go on underneath. I always have struggle clicking and dragging in the layers panel when there's groups involved. Instead, I'm going to go arrange, send backward. There we go. The final thing I'm going to do is add an extra square, which I'll cut out of pretty dog patterned background paper that I've got, just to add a bit of extra colour. This time I'll go for a rounded corner square, just so it's a little bit different. And let's go maybe 5.25. And send backwards, send backwards. Then that's a bit small. 5.5. This is why I like creating the kind of layout in Design Space, because it lets you know how it's all going to look. So that would be my greetings card all ready to cut. When you go to press Make It, you'll have your pyramid topper as a print then cut. So you can see all of this and you know it's a print then cut because you've got these black triangles around the edge of the paper. These are the guidelines which will be printed so that the Cricut can read where it needs to actually do the cutting. If I press continue, I'm not sure it's going to let me do it because my machine isn't plugged in. Hopefully it will. When you send it to print, there are a few things to do to get a better quality print. If I press send to printer, it's going to let me do it. Excellent. Alright, so it will look like this. You want to make sure add bleed is turned on, and that's going to add an extra bit of colour around all the little bits of your pyramid topper, which means if the Cricut cuts it a little bit off, you won't get any white edges from the paper, you'll still see the colour. And then press Use System Dialog on, and that will allow us to access our printer settings to get a higher quality print. So I'll press print, and then it takes a little while, but it should pop up my printer settings. Here we go. This will look different depending on what kind of printer you have. On my one, I can go into Preferences, and then what you're looking for first is the media type. I recommend printing on photo paper, either gloss or matte, and then change your photo paper to match. I'm using glossy photo paper. And then the most important thing is to look for print quality. It might call it something slightly different, but what you're looking for is a setting in there to let you change it to high print quality, or it might be called best or something like that. And that will mean you get a much better colour pop on the paper. And if you're struggling with printing and you're getting sort of horizontal lines appearing above the print, it's probably because you're not printing on that high quality setting. So change it to high, and then I'm going to just print that out. And then I will follow the on-screen instructions in Design Space to do the print and cut, and then cut out all of the other parts of the card. If you're not sure how to print and cut with a Cricut machine, check out my class for the Cardmaker Success Summit, following the links in the description of this video as I go through the whole process step by step in that. Here's my pyramid sheet printed onto my glossy photo paper. Just look at that shine. And if you don't have a Cricut machine, then this is the point at which you can stop using Design Space. So you can cancel out of the project and close down Design Space and just don't cut out the other parts of the card. As long as you've printed this, which you can do without a Cricut machine, then you can use a pair of scissors or a craft knife to cut out all of these bits by hand. But if you do have a Cricut, keep following the instructions on screen to get this cut out, and then get the other bits of the card cut out from your cardstock. Once your pieces are all cut out, you'll then stick them together in size order using foam squares or foam pads. And I've got these ones here, which are the ones I use, but any brand will be fine. I'm not going to show the process of sticking the card together in this video because that's included in my class for the Cardmaker Success Summit, which you can find in the description of this video. But once everything is stuck together, you'll end up with a card like this. So you can see this follows what I had in Design Space, although I decided not to cut that card blank shape, and instead I used one with these pretty edges that I bought in a craft store. But everything else is the same. So I've got my pattern paper with those rounded corners, my bit of red card which I stuck at the bottom, and then all those pieces of the pyramid, you can see if I put it on an angle, they're all stuck with those foam squares, which gives it that lovely dimension. And there we go, that's all there is to designing your own pyramid toppers in Cricut Design Space. If you want to have a go at pyramid toppers without designing your own, then you can get this pre-made Santa on the Rooftops pyramid topper from the Cardmaker Success Summit. Again, that link is in the description. So this one, you don't need to do any of the playing about in Design Space. It's all done for you. So all you need to do is upload and then print and cut. And then I'll show you how to stick it together to get all of that dimension. I hope you enjoyed this Design Space tutorial on how to design your own Pyramage card toppers. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut and card making tutorials. Thank you for watching. Bye!